Hello everyone! I've counted the votes, and the card that you wanted me to talk about most is...
Mind if I roll need?
The Loot Hoarder, bane of anyone trying to obtain a certain piece of gear. Let's begin, shall we? The Loot Hoarder places need above all else, inspired by those that we call ninja looters, a term not often used since the looting system has been severely changed since the early days of World of Warcraft. In patch 1.7.0 they improved the loot options by adding 3 buttons to the roll window, a need button in case you needed something, a greed button in case you didn't need it and would like to roll for it if nobody else needed it, and a pass option in case you wanted to pass on the loot altogether. I also remember that at some point they added the disenchanting button. In case you had an enchanter in the group, you'd hit that button and then the item would be disenchanted for you and you could sell the shard or dust on the auction house. Before the introduction of that simple button, you just pass on the loot to your enchanter in the group and you would type /roll to decide who would get the dust or the shard, unless of course you were partying with a loot hoarder who decided that they should get all the disenchanted materials because without them in the party you wouldn't get any materials to begin with. That's another thing that came with this loot system: who was allowed to roll on what item and what was considered to be need or greed situation. I can't tell you how many runs I've had, and I'm sure most of you out there had them as well, where someone constantly needed on the items up to the point where people would ask like, why are you needing on everything? And then the response came, I need to level this up for my profession, or I need this to vendor it for gold, or my off-spec needs this, or whatever reason they come up with. They were not wrong, but in the end, everybody could use it for gold or for professions or for alternate specs, so the lines there were not all that clear. You would soon learn to play by the rules though of the party, or nobody would play with you, especially in the early days without the whole dungeon finder tool. If you were marked as a loot hoarder, a ninja looter, everybody knew to avoid you and you would no longer be able to party up. Sometimes though, sometimes it wasn't that clear. Sometimes the line between need or greed was a little bit vague. I remember when a druid friend of mine, she looted an item that a rogue really wanted because she wanted to go DPS on her kitty form, but back then, and I'm talking about the classic days here, the kitty form was not supposed to DPS, druids were only supposed to heal, and the rogue was not happy about this. He felt like he should have had dips on the gear, and after this moment he hounded her for weeks. He tried to turn the server against her, he was whispering her constantly, it was nuts. A similar thing was when a hunter friend of mine came to me with the complaint that everyone was mad at him for looting a melee weapon in UBRS, because he thought in his mind that he wanted to be a melee hunter, and, you know, he did have the abilities for it, so why were people mad? Everything's a hunter weapon, right? Those were some interesting times, to be sure. However, to bring this story back to the Loot Hoarder, sometimes it wasn't so innocent. Sometimes it wasn't because the players didn't understand the finer things in the system. Sometimes they did it on purpose. This could be in a dungeon, where they felt like looting stuff just because they could. Or that moment where a random bind unequip epic would drop and you could just feel the atmosphere of the group go icy cold. Who is going to push that need button? Is this group going to end itself because of this random epic? And then of course there were also the raid situations where the raid group thought that they could trust their raid members, so they didn't turn on Master Looter, and this resulted in a whole bunch of YouTube videos with people showing off their ninja looting skills and responses from people like,
oh my god!
What the fuck?
Oh my god.
I'm going to kill myself right now. See ya!
These days, the Loot Hoarder has become more and more rare, not only because most loot is now set to personal, so you don't even have to roll anymore, but the need and greed system has improved over the years, and gear has also become a lot easier to obtain, and many raid groups are perfectly fine with the master looting system. One final bit that I can say about this card is that with Whispers of the Old Gods, we can see what happened to the Loot Hoarder in a world where the Old Gods broke free and rule the world.
Mine! Oh, mine!
And with that, we've reached the end of this video. As always, I'll leave it up to you guys and girls to decide what card we're going to talk about next. So leave your suggestions in the comments down below, and who knows, your card might be used in the next video. Subscribe if you like my videos, leave a like if you enjoyed this one, and until next time guys, see ya!